So the stage is set inside the Ataturk Stadium.
I cannot wait. The pressure is on Manchester City.
Is this their night of European glory, of the treble?
To be considered one of the really good team, you have to win the Europe. And we did it.
Into the gap for Bernardo Silva. What a ball that is by Cancelo.
So there are teams that win the Champions League after 1 or 2 seasons disappear. This is what they have to avoid it.
Kevin De Bruyne! Rodri tries it, scores! Rodri with an absolute peach!
Right now, I think Manchester City are a level above everybody else.
Now we have the first. But I don't want after 1 Champions League disappear.
And neither do we, Pep. We definitely don't. Welcome to MatchDay Live. Welcome to a very special MatchDay Live. City are looking to regain their Champions League title, which, of course, was won, unfortunately, by Real Madrid last time. But we're here in the studio for a very special UCL League phase draw. And it's with great pleasure to say I'm joined by 2 absolute legends, Michael Brown and Nedum Onuoha. Nedum, how are we feeling?
Yeah, feeling good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, we just saw the VT there, Brownie, at the start of the show. And the competition's had so many great memories for so many clubs and so many stuff, but I mean, for us it's just lovely to see, and hopefully we can go all the way this year.
That was the memory, wasn't it? We want to try and get there wherever possible again. Format's going to be a little bit different. How does that affect it? But I tell you something, nobody wants to play Manchester City, and that tells you how far the club have come. Special nights, and hopefully it's going to be a real successful campaign. Yeah,
we will explain the format to you guys watching very, very soon. It has all changed. Nedum, are you confident of City regaining the Champions League?
I'm confident they can do it. I think, as Michael said, though, like this new system...
A bit of a pause there, though, Nedum.
No, it's just good.
It's positivity.
No,
setting up now.
I'm supremely confident this team can beat absolutely anyone. But it's going to be interesting this year with the new setup to see how it all pans out in the end. But if City are in one of those, say, top 2 positions in that overall league, wouldn't be surprised if it went all the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, the new format is going to be explained very, very shortly, which I keep saying.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I think it's going to be very good. Let's talk about other teams in the thing. As part of the new format, I don't want to spoil it too much, but we will draw against 2 pot 1 teams, which is special in itself for a league phase draw. Who are the key threats in the tournament this year?
Well, I think we've all asked the question. Real Madrid for certain. I think that's just a given because of the history in the tournament, but pot 1 scares me a little bit. Do you know, in regards to if you draw the pot 1s away from home, how does it affect you? You could get some good ones that visit you as well. Bayern Munich, I think for certain. I think are going to be interesting with Vincent Kompany, how they're going to take on. But yeah, I think the Champions League, that's what it is. It's the pinnacle, isn't it? We're all interested to see what type of draw it is, and I think you need a bit of luck along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely you do. I think, as you've mentioned there with the pot 1 teams, you sort of feel nervous about them because you know they're almost as good as, say, City are, and to be getting some of those tough away fixtures would be a tricky in itself. But then also, you're playing 2 teams from pot 2, pot 3, pot 4 as well, and because it's so new, like, how many points gets you into the top 8? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be you need to be perfect, or is it a case of, say, you can drop some points? But I think one thing's for certain with this team, all they want to do is win.
Yeah, all they want to do is win, indeed. Listen, we've got some very, very special guests joining us on the wall for us. And as you can see, we've got Big Steve, we've got Ali Man, and we've got Waits. Big Steve, we'll come to you first. Nedum wasn't too confident, according to Brownie. I want some confidence from you.
Come on. Bit of tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like we was really unlucky last season. We've got to put it right this season. And like Brownie said, I don't think there's anybody in that draw that wants to face Manchester City. So I'm really excited. I'm a little unsure about the new format. I'm sure you guys are going to explain it to us. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to go.
I mean, me and Nedum have actually got an explainer for you still to come. Ali, I mean, have you had a chance to look at the new format in detail? We know how good you are across all City channels and incredible at your job. I like the shirt behind you as well, by the way. There's a certain shirt behind which is signed by a certain someone, isn't it?
It is signed by the man who gave City their only Champions League win, of course, in Istanbul. Rodri very kindly signed that for me when I clocked the 500 game up against West Ham back in May. I mean, the thing about this draw and the thing about the competition is that UEFA were trying to get rid of those dead rubber games that you often get in a group stage. And as a consequence, they've come up with this new format where they're hoping that games will be interesting all the way to the last match. And of course, because everyone's playing for league placings, so that they get either an automatic route through or they have to go into the playoff system, the theory is that you'll end up getting better matches all the way through the competition. I mean, City have been so good in the group stage that normally by game 5 they're dead rubbers. So that's basically the premise behind it. They want it to be exciting all the way to the last minute of the last game. We'll see whether or not it works.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have it wrapped up by the last game. Wait, we'll come to you now. A man, you know one of our members of the studio very, very well, and you spent some time with him during the trophy tour in Beijing, am I right?
Yeah, enjoyed it. And me and my son Amos, yeah!
Oh, what's the photo?
Class. What a guy. Do you know, it's nice to see him, because you see, like, when we do these shows, we're obviously in the studio, and you forget how far and wide, say, the videos and stuff go. So when I'm on a different continent altogether and get the chance to see someone who I've seen on that wall and watches the show, absolutely amazing, honestly.
What was that experience like for you in Beijing? I mean, look at the wall behind him.
Yeah, I'm looking. I've worn a couple of those shirts that he's got up on his wall, but I think for me, it's fantastic, you know what I mean? To get a chance to travel around the world and to be able to, like, share what it is to be City with fans from all around, because the idea is not every fan can get to Manchester. So for the club to be able to take myself and others and trophies out to those people, like, you see how much it means to them once you arrive, because, again, you know, it's a life-changing moment.
I'm disappointed with Big Steve's collection, you. I thought you'd have had a few shirts. I thought you were, like, #1 fan. Not a shirt. Unbelievable.
We've muted him. What did he say?
He hasn't got. He can't even speak back. Move on.
No, we have to hear from him. We'll see if we can sort that out. Right, Big Steve, we can hear you now. What's the reason? Because we all agree, actually.
Listen, there's not enough space on these walls for all the trophies we're winning.
Okay.
Listen, you're looking great in blue as well. Who do you think are the key threats from your side, Steve? From a fan's perspective, who are you most looking to avoid from that pot one?
Do you know what? I don't want to avoid anyone. I just feel like we've got to bring it on. You know, I'm a little bit sick of going to Real Madrid every now and then. It's I could do with somewhere nice. I need a tan on my head, so anywhere warm will do. But I'm just interested to see this new format and get these 8 games out of the way and see how it works out. I'm just looking forward to somewhere new, really. You know what it's like. I'm sick of Shakhtar Donetsk, RB Leipzig and Madrid at the minute. Somewhere new.
It's very, very exciting for supporters. Listen, let's not keep everybody waiting. Let's run straight away and play the explainer so everyone watching at home can understand exactly how the league phase draw is going to go. Nedum, the UEFA Champions League has changed this year. It's now referred to as the league phase draw.
Fancy. Well, should we get to explaining it? So, every club will now be guaranteed a minimum of 8 league stage games against 8 different opponents.
4 of the games will be at home and 4 of them will be away.
Okay, interesting.
The teams are still in pots though, and you can draw 2 from each.
Okay, so City as a pot 1 team will face 2 other pot 1 teams. That's Bayern, Madrid, PSG, Inter, Dortmund, Leipzig and Barcelona.
Ooh, that's a big amount of clubs. No team can play aside from their own league, though, at this stage. But you can draw a maximum of 2 teams from one country.
Okay, that makes sense so far. So let me carry on then. So the top 8 sides in the league will qualify automatically for the knockout stages, while the teams finishing in 9th to 24th place will compete in a 2-legged playoff to secure a place in the last 16 of the competition.
So you mean to tell me the team that finishes 24th in the league phase could still go on to win the Champions League?
That's exactly what I mean. So if you're in with a chance, why not go for it?
Well, I'm ready for this. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it, my friend.
Nedum, that was sensational.
Hey, clear as mud. Me and you, mate.
If you don't know how the league phase works now, you do because of me and Nedum. All right. Wait, we've just heard from Nedum explaining everything so well. The team that finishes 24th can still potentially go on to win the Champions League. From a fan's perspective, that makes things so much more exciting, doesn't it?
Yes, true. I'd say we could play Girona in the finals.
Well, that's an early prediction. Ali, Girona in the final, do you fancy that?
Yeah.
You know what? Girona have had all their best players cherry-picked, including, of course, Savinho, who's only on loan anyway. It'd be great if that would happen. I mean, the reality is that when everybody's asked who is the main threat, you're always going to say Real Madrid. But the reality is that I quite like one or two of the teams in terms of their strength. I think Atletico Madrid's recruitment has been very, very good. Of course, Alvarez is going to be a major player for them, and they seem to have a decent depth to them as well. Girona, I think they've struggled a little bit this season, but after the incredible season they had last, anything is a bonus going in from here on in. And it'd be lovely to draw Girona, but I think Big Steve said it really. It'd be nice to draw teams that we haven't faced before. Ironically, the only time that we've ever met Inter was in the final. So maybe Inter in the, I suppose they don't call it the group stage anymore, but this early stage will be quite interesting. A repeat of the final. And I said last season we draw Real Madrid in the quarter-final stage. I've got absolutely no doubt that we'll draw them in this draw as well.
Well, listen, Real Madrid, Brownie, Real Madrid at the Etihad. Do you want to run it back? And would you fancy our chances? You've got to fancy us at home.
All day long. And what a game. I say bring it on because, do you know, with the amount of games that you have got, if the worst was to happen, it's not one of those you have to avoid the sides now so much, and it's like a group stage where you've got the last 16 and you go straight in, so you've got a bit of time to recover, to get yourself going. But still, that would be the game I really feel City, the players would really relish to get involved in, to show how good we are. Bring it on. Why not? I mean, you can go on, can't you? That's why we're so blessed with this type of draw, the system. And as Big Steve wants a nice trip away somewhere, so we'll have to find a different one.
We'll see how long it takes for Big Steve to tell us that he'll be booking his flights, because he'll be there no matter what. A man who played last time in the Champions League, the last time we won it, his last Champions League game for us, is now back at the club. Ilkay Gundogan. I think every single Manchester City supporter has been talking about this man for weeks on end, and we've seen him come back. We've seen him get an assist with the Oasis return, we think, Nedum. Look, it's really, really good times for the club, and what an addition he is.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I think when you saw the sadness that was around the club when he left a year ago, to be able to bring him back on a free transfer with him talking about how much he loves the club, like, I felt like I was in an alternate universe when a week ago he was saying how, like, you know, it's such a privilege to come back, you know, he's leaving Barcelona. That should be the other way around, you know, for most of our lifetimes. You don't leave Barcelona to go to City and have a step up, but instead, that's the reality of the moment. And I think for him to be a new signing that knows it all, to have that reception from the crowd, and to know that he wants to make a difference as well. Like, this is a former club captain coming back a year later. It's a very unique situation, but I'm delighted.
I was sat with a few friends early on in the week last week, and the talk came up, and it looked like it was going to happen. I was thinking, surely not, and it sort of escalated very, very quickly. It was obviously it was going to be on. And then that weight, that build-up, I think everybody was getting excited because it's not only what he brings on the pitch, it's off the pitch, the leadership, the way he conducts himself, and a real leader. And I think what Pep has there as well is someone who can portray what he wants, the brains of the operation, and it's continued down. And I think every City supporter wondered what they were going to get when he first came in the building. Didn't start that well, but then ultimately what he was involved in going forward was just incredible. And he'd be delighted to be back. He'll want to contribute, and I think he'll have a different mindset again about helping the club, more long-term than him as a personal, selfish view. And I think that's what we might be really getting the benefit of this time.
I imagine it does so much for the dressing room as well, bringing a player back. I mean, there's some new players there as well, but they'll be fully aware, Nedum, of what he's achieved in Sky Blue and how good of a player he is. 100%.
Like, you know, this is one of the best role models that, say, a young player can have, for example, someone that has done it all and won it all, you know what I mean? And I think for him coming back as well, I think as Michael said, it will be slightly different to a year ago. You know, even though he's capable of probably playing in every single game, because he's a fraction older, he'll probably be perceiving things in a slightly different way. Maybe coming back is more of a long-term thing. Maybe there's going to be some coaching in there as well. So for him to come back and to understand the club,
he's got to view that.
Yeah,
he's got to look and say this would be a type of surroundings, this club under that coaching team, that banner, to learn. This is where it starts.
100%. So I think it'd be great for him. I think obviously some people might miss out game time wise, but essentially, if there's someone to wait behind, you know, this is one of the best ever for City.
Now, Ali, you've commentated so many games for Manchester City, and Ilkay Gundogan being
about
back.
510 FG.
510 based on the and hopefully 510 more. Explain to me what it feels like to see him back in Sky Blue, and hopefully loads of special moments again.
Well, it means an awful lot, and I think, and Pep said it himself in his press conference just after he'd signed. He said, ordinarily he wouldn't sign a 33-year-old. It would not be something that he would countenance. But he looks at Ilkay Gundogan differently to any other player because influence on the field, influence off the field. I mean, we talk about players scoring important goals, and there are many of them. But Ilkay's 2 goals against United in the FA Cup final, in the second leg of the treble, the 2 against Aston Villa the season before, and many, many others. You're talking about a guy who is unique. There are players who, make good runs, who find spaces, who make that kind of a ghosting effect at the far post that nobody seems to pick up. But I don't think anyone does it much better than Ilkay Gundogan. He did it for Germany as well in the Euros, and he's just a special guy. And I think I'd be very, very surprised if he isn't part of the captaincy team. I know there'll be 3 or 4 that the players vote for. I'd be very surprised if he isn't back in that role again, even though he's only been back, 10 days now.
Yeah, I think we're all just super, super happy to see him back. And Big Steve, I have to ask you, you were at the Etihad at the weekend, that reception when he came onto the pitch, even when he went out to warm up, it was special, wasn't it?
I feel like there's a little buzz around the Etihad at weekend, just having him there. And I think all this panic about maybe being a bit light in midfield with Rodri being injured, I think that's gone away now. I think knowing that Ilkay's in the building, what he brings to the table, experience, that older head, and the fact that he's been there before, he loves the club and he's been around it and knows it. I think everyone's relaxed, and it was quite a good atmosphere at weekend, and it felt a bit like that treble season at the beginning when there was a real buzz around the place, and I'm hoping that can continue now and keep it going. But Gundogan coming back is signing in the summer for me.
And Waits, I have to ask you as well, you were watching the game from many miles away. What was the atmosphere around there, and how did it feel to see Ilkay back in at City as well?
For me, it's more emotional way, off-pitch feelings, because during the past decade, we have seen many times of departure. Sergio, Joe Hart, Vinny, David Silva. So when I say Gondo come back, just tears dropping down, because we can bring our old legends back to our club and fight for us again. That kind of feeling is just amazing. So when I say, hey, come on to the beach, nothing to describe, just win us more trophies. That is all.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think it's only right. That was a lovely way to put it as well. I think it's only right that we get everybody involved here, because we've asked our legends and we've asked our guests for their predictions for the Champions League. So we've got a little graphic to show you based on what you guys are seeing. We'll talk about the headshots in a minute, in particular yours, Big Steve. But Brownie, biggest threat. I mean, it's unanimous across everybody, and I think it's one that not many people will argue.
I'm more interested in the headshots. What's going on there? Surely we could have made it a little bit better, wouldn't it? Like, doctored it a bit, but I think we've been stitched up there, FG.
Real Madrid, the biggest threats. I think it makes sense, doesn't it? The Mbappe factor, the Bellingham factor.
Mbappe. As soon as he goes in the build, I think that changes everything. I don't know if you agree, Nedum. I think that was the signing of the summer. Everybody looking at it and saying, wow, how's that going to affect? Well, obviously, a team who've always been successful without him, and now you add him to it. I mean, where they're going to match up, how they're going to play, that could cause them a few problems, as we've seen in other clubs when they have too much sort of quality with not enough maybe work ethic. That's the one thing I would say. But ultimately, they are the ones to watch. They seem to just find a way in this tournament, the manager and the players now, and rightly so, they've earned the right.
Where do we see PSG in all of this after they've lost Mbappe? They're, of course, a pot one side.
Yeah, so speaking with Julien Laurent, who covers them, and he's a PSG supporter, and as he'll tell you, Paris born and bred, like he feels, even though they've lost the star power, he feels they're a better collective.
I get that.
So there'll be a different sort of challenge for some people. And to be honest, I was half thinking about them as a surprise package as such, because I think a lot of people will be down on them because their big stars aren't there anymore. But again, they're more of like a really good side now in the Champions League who will work harder together. It's never about an individual.
It's how they're going to react, though, isn't it? It's whether they're going to have enough. That's the uncertainty surrounding them. For me, still, when we're asked on these to give an opinion, I still think there's a balance that it could be slightly off still.
It's the perfect. It's like the mirror image of the Real Madrid one. We've seen Real Madrid win the Champions League so many times in recent years, and then they add someone who can get them out of jail again. You know what I mean? At times it can be imperfect, but now maybe Mbappe's going to do something. Whereas now for PSG, it's not about the individuals. You know, it's the collective. So it's almost like pick your poison as such.
And speaking of collectives, you've put your surprise package of Bayer Leverkusen, and obviously they had an incredible season last year, in Europe including, up until the final.
Yes.
But this is the Champions League now. You still put them down as a surprise package.
Yeah.
They've started the season very well again. They keep winning. Do you see them doing really, really well in this?
I see them potentially doing well, yeah. I think the fact that, you know, already this season they've had 2 late wins and stuff, and it's not to say that you want to rely upon that, but it's a style of play which they have, which would suit playing in the Champions League. I think the movement of their players, the comfort that they play in, and the fact that, you know, they are capable of beating any team around Europe.
Can they continue it, though? Do you know, like, for such an unbelievable run, have they got that? Do you think that consistency to do it? I think that's going to be the point in a knockout stage.
I think for me, do you know which pot they're in? Are they in?
They're in 2.
They're in 2. Okay, being in 2, I'd fancy their chances against other teams in 2, and I'd fancy them quite heavily to beat teams in 3 and 4. So as a consequence, I see them making it to the knockout rounds in the top 8. That's how I see it. Might be a bit of a surprise for some, but they're good enough to be able to
We can talk
do that.
about it all as well, is the draw, which we're going to see. We're going to have to be asked again. We're doing that before you see who you're going to come up against. The home and aways are going to be key as well. But, no, listen, they've earned it, haven't they? Going well.
They have. The draw is it's getting underway. I mean, there's Ronaldo there, there's Buffon there, Cristiano Ronaldo, that is. When it starts, we'll be reacting live to it right here. Let's talk about the surprise packages that Big Steve and Ali have said. They're unanimous with it. First things first, Big Steve, should we address the headshot? You happy with that one? Did you send that one in yourself?
Well, I think me and Ali have been stitched up royal there. I don't know about Brownie and Nedum, but yeah, someone needs a quiet word there, I think.
I like the way that they're looking at each other as well on it. It's brilliant. Atletico Madrid, Ali, both of you and Steve have agreed that they potentially will be the surprise packages. I'm sensing a Julian Alvarez reason for that.
Well, yeah, and I also think Conor Gallagher's a good signing as well, and they've got a fantastic spine to their team that they've had for a long time now, with, of course, Oblak, who's a fantastic goalkeeper behind it all. And then you've got the reliable players like Griezmann and Koke in midfield. You know, they just seem to have every base covered for me. They're always one of those teams who you rarely beat easily. You know, even when City met them a couple of years back, it was a 1-0 over 2 legs. It was a couple of very fiercely fought matches. They've got that consistency in the back room and the coaching and so on. It's a wonderful arena to play your football. They play in a fantastic atmosphere in their new stadium. The whole package makes them a danger. It was Dortmund that knocked them out last season. Of course, Dortmund ended up getting to the final. So they just, to me, seem to have the right balance. And remember, they got to those 2 finals against Real Madrid not that long ago. And since then, they've added a bit more experience with the likes of Azpilicueta, who's always reliable, and they've got Le Normand, who played for Spain and won the Euros with Rodri. So it's just that balance and the depth that they've got that make me believe that Atletico are the surprise package. I could have said one of the English teams. I do think Liverpool are going to be awkward. And Arsenal, well, how many games did they lose in total last season period? So, you know, English teams are always going to be a danger. But if you pin me to the mast, I'd say definitely Atletico Madrid as the biggest surprise package, just ahead of Leverkusen.
I think you look at the legs now that they've got. They'll be hard to beat, won't they? They'll be really aggressive in the press, tough. They've got a little streak. We know that they've got that as well. So I feel like it just give them a bit of an edge. Whether the quality's at the highest end to go and win the Champions League, that's something different. But there's certainly, you're going to know you're in a game against them.
I mean, the interesting thing is, which Nedum explained so well, is that 24th place still doesn't get knocked out of the Champions League. They get another opportunity. It means that they'll play more games, and I think it's like 17, I think, if they reach the final, a number was mentioned. Wait, I want to come to you. We want to speak about players to potentially watch in the Champions League. We've seen the likes of Yamal, which was predicted, Musiala. Is there anyone else from other teams that you think is going to stand out in the tournament this year?
The Savio.
Yeah, it's a smart choice. I mean, it's a smart choice. He's been brilliant, hasn't he, so far? What have you liked so much about him?
Yes. His dribble and his technique, and I'd like to say how far he can go comparing with Maurice. So that's wonderful to see him play, and hope he can make so many threats to the opponent.
I mean, funnily enough, it was Riyad Mahrez actually wrote a tweet about that, saying, wait a minute, as if to say this is essentially a regen of him. So I'm glad that Riyad supported him. Wait, who do you think, team-wise, apart from Manchester City, are going to be the surprise teams in this year's tournament to do well?
Bellingham.
And sorry, the teams. So, like, the clubs.
Teams?
Yeah.
Real Madrid, yeah.
I think it's just a safe bet, isn't it? And I hope every single one of you are wrong. Big Steve, let's go back to that talk about Savio, shall we? I mean, what a start he's had. It looks like he's been a part of this team for many, many years already.
Yeah, really exciting player. Great to see him get on the front foot and go out the full back straight away. And I feel like he's going to be a massive addition. I feel like Pep tweaked it a little bit this year. I feel like over the past few seasons, the wingers have been encouraged to sort of come back inside, slow it down a little bit. But I feel like with Jeremy Doku and Savio, they've both been told to just go and play, go at the fullback, and it's definitely exciting to see him play. And as soon as he gets the ball now, you can feel the crowd at the Etihad rise a little bit, knowing that something special is going to happen. And I just hope it can continue with a good form he started off with.
Yeah, it's been a very, very good start to the season for our wingers, and also very good news for one of our other wingers, Jack Grealish, back in the England squad. He had a great pre-season. Unfortunately, he got injured. He's hopefully on the mend, and he'll be back soon. But Brownie, you know Jack well, and he'll be delighted, and it's very well deserved, isn't it?
Yeah, I was really disappointed. We talked about it at the start of the season regarding not making the England squad, and rightly so. That's what you want to play for your country. You want to do whatever possible in these major tournaments. And sometimes it's cruel. We see on choices, different selections. But what he did, he had a little break, and then he got really his head down, got training, got himself in a great condition, mindset, and he was ready for the challenge. We've seen him pre-season, he was just getting there, then he gets a little knock, and he has to wait again. So that's a frustrating thing when we talk about new wingers, different styles, different systems. So you need the manager also to buy in with what you can do in a particular game that's coming your way as well. But you've got to take the positive, haven't you? Back in the squad, new manager, although caretaker manager, and now he's just got to get minutes. He's got to play football, Jack Grealish, and that's what we're looking to do. The more minutes we see of him, the better he's going to be. And
we've seen more minutes from a young man who's also been called up today. Rico Lewis is in the senior squad. He got a call up last season as well. He'll be absolutely delighted. Nedum, he's been brilliant, hasn't he, at the start of the season?
Absolutely. He's been exceptional. I think, obviously, he's been somebody who'd be waiting for an opportunity, and I think to be able to have a pre-season and to be ready to go for the first game and to play the way that he did, I thought he was exceptional in the Community Shield, and I think he's been great since then. For the way that he plays, he offers something different, you know what I mean? Like, so the other teams that they're playing against, they'll think, oh, it's this little fella, but he always has an impact.
Chelsea, they targeted him, you know, 1v1 areas, and I thought he dealt with it really well. The competitiveness, really well, and the detail as well is, you know, we look at the goal last week against Ipswich. So that's one area, and it's difficult to the position of where you drop into midfield areas to come back to get with your line. But for a young player, I just think he's done really, really well, and he's going to be a real star, isn't he?
Yeah, hopefully plenty more years in Sky Blue. Ali, I want to ask you about Rico. I mean, in particular, that performance at the weekend. He could have had a goal. It was almost...
Say could have or should have?
I'll say could have, because I would have missed that.
You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he had the goal disallowed at Chelsea as well for a foul, but he's getting himself in attacking positions as well, isn't he?
Oh, he's an incredible talent. And I remember a press conference at least a year ago, maybe longer, when Pep said that he was hoping that people like John Stones would learn from Rico Lewis to how to play that role moving into that position alongside Rodri to help him protect his midfield. Now, we're talking about a kid who at the time was maybe 17, 18 when Pep Guardiola said that. And it was an extraordinary comment. I kind of did a double take when I heard him say it, but it just tells you the qualities that Pep Guardiola sees in. Now, I'm incredibly biased because my wife and his mum are good friends. So I'm absolutely thrilled that a local lad has done well and followed his dreams and so on. And I just think that he's got that much ability and awareness of a position that normally you associate with players who are older. You know, for someone to be 18, 19 and in that role where you've got so much responsibility and the fact you know that you're going to be getting the ball with players breathing down your neck and you'll have to be comfortable in receiving and giving it at that age tells you that you've got an exceptional mind that goes with this incredible physical assets. And I think you've got a very, very special player. You might not get the numbers that your Phil Foden's going to get because he plays in a different position, but the importance to the team is huge. And the way that he started this season is quite exceptional. And I just hope that we get, that England, things like having England recognition, people got frustrated that Phil Foden wasn't as good as they hoped he would be for England in the Euros. I just hope that people are a little bit more understanding that with Rico Lewis, you're talking about a young lad who's 18, 19 years old, playing in one of the best sides that we've ever seen, showing the responsibilities he's showing. Be patient. Let him develop, give him time to make a couple of errors, which he's bound to make. And you're going to have one of the best academy products we've perhaps ever seen.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Brownie. I want to come to you on that one because the good thing about Rico is obviously he seems like a really, really humble guy. He's learning from arguably one of the best right-backs around ever, Kyle Walker. Kyle, club captain, you always see him putting his arm around younger players and stuff. And for a player like Rico, when you're a young player and you're looking up to the player who's perhaps playing in that position, how important is that to have someone like that?
I think it's so important. I think as a younger player, you never forget that senior player getting the arm around you. When I started off, there was seniors who helped you along the way, and it is very important. It's the players in sort of the late 20s always don't help the younger ones so much, but as you get a little bit older, we talk about Ilkay Gundogan now, his role, Kyle Walker having that captaincy of understanding that it won't last forever, but you've got to help these players. The development, the squad comes first. And he can do things that Kyle Walker can't do, as we say, drift into the middle of the pitch, play in that midfield zone, but then he can't defend as well as him yet. So that's the next thing that he's got to develop, that understanding. So he's got the perfect person, hasn't he? But probably the one thing in his game, he's got the best person to teach him probably, which that's why I think we're going to see a real top player for many years for Manchester City. But his temperament is excellent, isn't it? You just look and how he is. He's always open. He wants to say hello to people. His head's up, wants to learn, wants to listen. And that's why he's a real success so far, so early in his career.
How important is that patience, Nedum? Because he's obviously started the season so well. Kyle's probably going to come back eventually. He'll be back in the side, and Rico might have to sit out a few games. But as a young player, do you always have that hunger? Of course, you want to play every week, but that level of patience.
Yeah, to be honest, from my perspective, there aren't many players who believe they're not ready to play yet, you know what I mean? But I think in the manager in Guardiola, if he's telling you that he thinks you can be good enough, then you are left in this position whereby, well, what do you say? Do you say, well, no, I know better, I need to go? Or do you sort of think, well, maybe this could be my future? But one thing I've got to say, like, we were talking about what Kyle can help with Rico and so on, but having Pep in charge, I think, is one of the biggest and most important parts of that. Most people I've heard who were sort of around my age, who had Guardiola for a year, 2 years and so on, they talk about how they start to see a different type of like football. They understood it differently based on how he coached. So to be able to create your football foundation from there, like they're building some like monstrously good young talent, and I think Rico has got the potential to be another one of those.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, Pep's incredible. Everyone says such good words about him. The draw hasn't yet started. They're actually, Nedum, playing an explainer. I wonder if they're playing.
This will be no good. Like, there's no point. If you want to see like a really good one, just let's dial it back a little bit, and you'll see.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we milk this one, Nedum?
Go for it.
Should we play it again? Let's play the explainer. Nedum, the UEFA Champions League has changed this year. It's now referred to as the league phase draw.
Fancy. Well, should we get to explaining it? So, Every club will now be guaranteed a minimum of 8 league stage games against 8 different opponents.
4 of the games will be at home and 4 of them will be away.
Okay, interesting.
The teams are still in pots though, and you can draw 2 from each.
Okay, so City as a pot 1 team will face 2 other pot 1 teams. That's Bayern, Madrid, PSG, Inter, Dortmund, Leipzig and Barcelona.
Ooh, that's a big amount of clubs. No team can play aside from their own league though at this stage, but you can draw a maximum of 2 teams from one country.
Okay, that makes sense so far. So let me carry on then. So the top 8 sides in the league will qualify automatically for the knockout stages, while the teams finishing in 9th to 24th place will compete in a 2-legged playoff to secure a place in the last 16 of the competition.
So you mean to tell me the team that finishes 24th in the league phase could still go on to win the Champions League?
That's exactly what I mean. So if you're in with a chance, why not go for it?
Well, I'm ready for this. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it, my friend.
Oh, well, there you go. Nedum Onuoha, that is sensational. A man of many talents. You can see the draw explainer behind us. I want to touch on this again, Brownie, the league phase. 9th to 24th place will compete in a 2-leg playoff. Early on in terms of knockout stages for the Champions League, but so much excitement for the fans.
It is excitement, isn't it? Right till the end, the last few games of this group stage, as I would say, this league table, then you're going to have something to go at, aren't you? Because the last 2 games, you might be like, well, OK, we've got every chance of doing it. There is some real lower-end teams, we were just discussing that there, which are going to be a struggle in the tournament, but you would expect them to drop down out of that 24th position. But everyone will want to, especially the teams we're talking about, will want to be in that top 8, that draw to give the advantage, and having that facility to stay away from certain teams. And I think it's key as well still that you don't really want to come up against Liverpool, you don't want to be coming up against Arsenal, do you, at these stages? So I'm interested to see how the computer are going to spin all of these teams out with all of this, but I'm really excited for this format, something different.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's going to be really good. And I think it's going to be really good first because we don't know what it's going to look like. But also, every team in the Champions League doesn't necessarily believe they're going to go and win it. Like, the teams that lose in that playoff go into the Europa League, don't they? So as the tournament progresses, you're in a position where, like, the team that's in 20th, are they trying to finish in the top 8? Are they trying to finish as high as they can within that? A team that's in, like, 10th going into the last game, can they qualify for 8th? Because the team that's in 8th isn't playing against, a team that they know.
Go for it.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be really interesting because your destiny isn't necessarily always in your hands, if that makes sense.
Like I think when you see these pots here, I think what's really exciting in this format, FG, the point for me is that when we've been away in the first leg and you come back, you've seen that team and it's been quite comfortable. The second leg, you almost know what's coming, you almost see where it is. So I see that point being it's a new challenge, a new change, and it'll be testing.
Awesome as well, in my opinion, is that you can see the route to the final from the moment the group phase is locked out, because 1 to 8 in the next section will be playing against the 8 teams that qualify, and teams 1 and 2 will only meet each other in a final if they win all their games. So it's more like a tennis seeding from the moment you get through the group stages, which for me, like, that's the bit that will be clear as day to absolutely everyone.
I'm just going to bring in Big Steve for this one because I know you're desperate for the 4 trips. How are you feeling about this format? Because after listening to you two, I feel very more excited and ready for it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm excited. I think it's new. I think it'll be difficult. And like you say, I think some of the games where in the past have been dead rubbers, I feel like that won't really happen. I feel like it's keeping it competitive, but it's all new. And I'm just excited to see how it goes. And I'm sure people will have the pros and cons, but it's just more excitement now and a little bit of the unknown. But yeah, can't wait for it.
I mean, look, we're looking at some of the teams in the pot. You saw the graphic on the show just before. I mean, Barcelona, pot 1, a trip to Spain. I know Steve wants to go there, and I'm sure Ali will be looking to go there as well. The pot 1 is sensational. Liverpool, we can't play Liverpool, of course. PSG, Bayern Munich, huge names in that pot. I mean, how important is it to play them teams at home, do you think, Nedum?
I think the teams that are in that pot, as you look around, they've all got incredible home records. So I think any sort of away game would be tough. But again, these teams, they're in this for a reason because of their historical, say, performance within this tournament itself. So whomever you get at home, you fancy.
But you can look at it as well, couldn't you? That they visit the Etihad, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and then you go away to pot 2 teams of Leverkusen and Atletico.
Yeah.
So like, you can dress it up however you want. You can sort of say, well, if you don't do well in your home games, I think that's what that leaves it open now in this draw. That could change a lot of mindset. But Monaco, Steve, away. You fancy that?
Expensive trip, that. Don't know, mate.
I mean, it's very, very expensive, Steve, so I won't be nodding at that one. Monaco is extremely expensive. That's where the draw is taking place. They seem to be starting, sort of. We'll keep you updated. We can see it on the screen. Buffon is there and Cristiano Ronaldo is there. We're starting with the pot one, of course, so they draw the pot ones. And it sort of goes that way in the first.
City first.
The first one is Manchester City.
Right then.
So here we go.
The winners generally come out first. This new format, they've been working on it quite a while.
Manchester City are out first, of course. Right.
Computers.
The computer's doing it.
Now, yeah.
Can we predict who we're going to get, Nedum?
I'm going to say Inter. Oh, there we go. It's done. It's doing it. Inter was first shout, yeah. Oracle.
So we play Inter at home. We play PSG away. Club Brugge at home. Juventus away. Feyenoord at home, Sporting away, Sparta Prague at home, and then Bratislava away. Wow.
I like Inter at home. I think Paris away will be a good test. And then from there, that's all right, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's all right.
It could have been worse, but it's really interesting, isn't it, when you see it come out like that.
Some people are going to be out of work, by the way, because quick bees and that.
Whoever's not seen the drive, it just literally drifts out like that. It's incredible, isn't it?
Can we just have a moment to just thank UEFA for the quickest draw we've seen so far? That was so smooth. We know exactly the group we've got. Ali, you actually predicted that we were going to get into Milan, and you were absolutely spot on. How are you feeling about that one?
That's a brilliant draw. I think the only disappointment is we're not going to the San Siro. But yeah, I mean, listen, I just thought it would be. I thought it'd actually be Inter and Real Madrid. So I've not been completely correct in that prediction. But when you look at the teams that they could have drawn, they've got a tricky away game at Juventus, which, you know, they are an awkward side. They're going again through a transitional phase. You're not quite sure what kind of Juventus you're going to get because they have really poor days when I've seen them in Serie A. I've done a lot of Serie A games in the last few years. But the first thing that strikes you is, look how quickly we've ended up finding out who we're going to meet. I mean, normally we could be here for 45 minutes waiting for everyone to come and unscrew the balls and drop them out. So hats off to UEFA. That was bang. And we even know who were playing at home and who were playing away. So brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that was the definition of a super computer, wasn't it, Nedum? Inter also playing Arsenal, I've just seen.
Yeah.
They'll face them at home. So at the San Siro, tough test for Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be, but Arsenal, very good side. I think Ali made the point that, you know, how many games have they lost? Not even last season, past 2 seasons. They'll fancy their chances, but they are in the unique position of having never won it as well. You know, something I forget because I remember from years ago when they had Henry's and so on, they did lose in that final to Barcelona, wasn't it? So they've seen their path. They'll believe that they can do it. But this is, I'll tell you what, this is tidy, this draw. It's blowing my mind. Another thing just done here now.
Yeah, and Bayern Munich will be going to Villa Park. They'll also be playing PSG. They'll be going away to Barcelona. Look, Waits, I'm going to bring you in on this one. You've seen the teams that we're going to be playing. Are you excited?
I'm a little bit disappointed because I was expecting we could play Bayern Munich, and I can say how Winnie coaches the top teams and come back to Etihad. And I also hope we could play Real Madrid or Barcelona because you all know how we perform at home. Beating Real Madrid, that's very exciting. So this one is much more easier for us, and maybe it's very good because we all know how Pep is good at long-term competition. So maybe it's very good for us to win more trophies, 7, I think, in a season. I hope, yeah.
I mean, Waits was disappointed that we're not playing Real Madrid. We can play Real Madrid, of course, in this tournament at some point. A man who's probably not disappointed is Big Steve, because we've got Bratislava away and he's probably already booking his flights for that fixture. Big Steve, I saw you smile straight away when you saw that fixture. Some good away trips there.
Yeah. Did we get Sporting as well?
Sporting as well, Juventus as well.
Yeah, no, they're good. It's good. And like I say, it's quick and my phone is literally pinging away. But And are we the first ever team to be drawn out under the new format? So, like they say, it's no good being the second man on the moon. So there's a bit of something for us to do.
Yeah, the blue moon indeed. Look, just get that in as soon as you can. That is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, you can see the fixtures on the screen for you. So it's Inter Milan at home. PSG away is an interesting one, Brownie, as well. For the second game, we spoke about them a little bit. No Mbappe at PSG, but still a tough test.
Well, Nedum said if they get their act together, get more organised, get more collective. I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's an exciting one. I'm looking forward to that one. So hopefully it'll be a nice trip for all of us, that one, won't it, FG? If we can all go to there.
Yeah, it'll be a lovely trip indeed. The fixtures will be announced on Saturday. So everyone who's looking and watching the show, trying to book their flights, I know Lummy's probably going to book a week there, Big Steve will book a week, wherever it is, but all fixtures will be announced on Saturday.
Question for you, Mr. Host. Are those the fixtures in order?
They are the fixtures in order. So game 1, game 2, game 3.
So it starts off quite strong and then it...
Oh, they're not in order as of yet. They can change, I just got told. So
yeah, okay. That's what I was going to say, because if it starts off with like all the big games for the first...
That's
just the pots, the teams.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, because that's a tail off, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it won't be like that, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. And that was the one thing, how we were going to get it, how it's going to be home and away, what's next, and how the order will work. That's what will be interesting, how they sort out. But the computer was that quick, surely they've got that sort of order in place as well. But I just think it's a really exciting draw. I think we've done quite well with that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely happy. You're looking at the other teams that are playing against each other, heavyweights are playing each other all throughout this tournament. Barcelona playing Bayern Munich at home, Dortmund away, Atalanta at home. So Monaco away, back to Monaco for some of the Barcelona staff are at the draw. You've got to fancy us in this new phase, haven't you, Nedum, looking at that?
Yeah, I would fancy City against absolutely anyone. And I think given, the nature of the home games, like, if they perform to their best, I think they can beat absolutely anyone. So I think they can see their path. But the interesting thing is now, even if City were to win all their games, there might be someone else that's going to win all their games as well. So all of a sudden, you don't have that guaranteed first ranking there. And I think that's going to be the beauty of this competition, is that what you're doing does matter, but how does it stack up against other people doing similar? Because maybe it comes down to goal difference and the like.
Well, we can see the holders are just getting drawn out now. Real Madrid, their first game is Dortmund. Then they go to Anfield. They go to Liverpool away. Milan at home. Atalanta. Salzburg at home. Lille away. Stuttgart at home. And Brest away. Looking at those fixtures, Ali, that Real Madrid have got, you've got to fancy them to do quite well. The pot 1 fixtures are, Anfield, that's a tough place to go.
It's a very tough place to go. I mean, I haven't been able to digest it, to be honest, because the teams came out so quickly. But that's a heck of a group. Was it Real Madrid and Dortmund in the same group, repeated the final?
Yeah.
As well as Liverpool. So, yeah, I'm still digesting City's group, but that looks a very entertaining group already. And there's at least 2 or 3 teams I'm looking on the City list that the City haven't met before. Sporting Lisbon away is going to be an interesting one. Sporting Lisbon, of course, won the Portuguese league last season. They were a little bit of a surprise package in that regard. Their coach has been linked with every job that's ever been up and available in the last few years, and he did a brilliant job with Sporting Lisbon. And I know a lot of City fans have been to Lisbon quite a few times the last few years. That'll be a terrific away day. But I don't think City have ever been to the new Juventus Stadium, the Allianz Stadium. I think the last time they played Juventus, I think it was in the old ground, maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm looking at the draw that could have been and the one that we've got. And I think from a sort of progression standpoint, it looks pretty good. Quietly confident with that, I have to say.
I think we can all agree that we're all pretty excited here in the studio. Steve, how are you feeling? Excited?
Yeah, really excited. Inter Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, always good games. Bruges, got some good friends at Bruges as well. They saying they're looking forward to coming to Manchester. And Sporting away is always good for a little bit of sun. So looking forward to it. Be very, very interesting. I like the way the new formats come out and how quick it was. And it's definitely exciting. And some of the games you've mentioned from other teams as well, Aston Villa getting tough ties, Liverpool, Real Madrid. It's interesting. And I think there's a real buzz around it. But yeah, let's get to Saturday. Let's see what order it is and let's get them flights booked.
Yeah, well, exactly. The flights will all be... We can book your flights on Saturday when you know the dates. Wait, you said you were disappointed, of course. We didn't play Real Madrid, but which team are you looking forward to playing most in the Champions League based on what we've seen?
The Inter Milan. So I hope we can replay the Istanbul game and just beat them more easier.
I love his confidence. It's absolutely amazing. Listen, I've got a little fact for you guys, actually. Nedum, a man that you know very, very well, plays for Bratislava. City fans will remember him because when he burst onto the scene from the academy, Vladimir Weiss is a player who plays there. What do you remember about him?
Good kid, man. Really good kid. He's very, very talented. Wenger, I think I was on for when he made his debut. Loved to take people on. Good finisher as well. And now he's playing for Bratislava under his father as the coach, I think. And his dad used to play as well. I think it's 3 generations of Vladimir Weisses. But I was watching him play the other day, and he's captain as well. So that's going to be a real nice moment for him when he plays against City again, for sure. Yeah, listen, I mean, Steve, I'll come to you on Vladimir Weiss because I remember the time where he came through and the excitement we had with him and the moments he gave us. Like Nedum said, he loved to take on a man, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a good little player. Just unfortunately, he never really made it at City, but I know he had a good career at Rangers and they love him there. But yeah, these teams, Bratislava, people like that, it's all unknown for us, especially for me. I've never been to them places, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure there's going to be a few surprises thrown up and a few old players coming out of the woodwork, I think. But yeah, why not? Juventus away as well. I'm looking forward to that. I've never been there. And I really fancy that one.
Juventus away. I think the last time we played Juventus, we lost 1-0. And I think it was a Mandzukic goal. And the reason I remember that is because I was there and it was absolutely freezing. I mean,
was it like 2015?
It was, it was Juventus with players like Pogba. Played really well that day. We had, of course, Yaya. I mean, hopefully we'll hope for a bit more of a positive game there, but the atmosphere there in Italy as well is incredible, isn't it?
It's going to be. I think that's an amazing place to go, isn't it? Historic. So I think it'll be. I just think the draw is really good. I think interestingly enough for me is the one really into Milan. You want to take it home. I think that's going to be iconic, isn't it? Because of what's happened already. So we're looking forward to that. And the 2 away games that stand out, aren't they? PSG and Juventus. And after that, I think if City are on song, good places to go for supporters and to go and enjoy moments away with City, but really they're the ones that you feel like you can go and get a result at any of them.
Yeah, definitely happy with that. Look, I want to revisit, and I don't just want to get your head shot up again, Steve. I want to revisit the guest predictions and see if anyone wants to make any changes based on what we've seen. So we'll get the graphic back up. Biggest threat, still Real Madrid. Everyone's agreeing it's still Real Madrid. I don't think you would change that based on what they got, right?
No, I don't think you can. I think you look at I think that's what shocked us is the way that the draws all come out so quickly. And I think the balance of it, I think generally there's a few teams that have had a short straw for certain, but mostly I think the balance is there as expected. I think it's come out all right for most. I don't think anyone's really a horrific group. Paris Saint-Germain maybe is the one that we've just seen that looks the most difficult.
The surprise package we were talking about, Atleti have got Leipzig, Paris, Leverkusen, Benfica, Lille, Salzburg, Bratislava and Slavia Praha. Big Steve, good shout, I think, from you and Ali. Looking at them fixtures, I imagine you're going to stick with what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what we're saying. We spoke about Atletico Madrid before. I think Brownie said it. They're a very, very hard-to-beat team. I don't think anyone's looking forward to playing them. They've added some good additions in the summer. And they look the part, especially with Simeone. I think he's got them well drilled. And we went to that game at Atletico a couple of years back, and it was a real battle, a real tough battle. So I'm sticking with them. And Musiala as a player, I just fancied him. I feel like he's improving all the time. And I look forward to watching him play every game. And I feel like if Vincent Kompany and Bayern can get to the later rounds, they're going to need him to perform. So, yeah, I'm sticking.
And Ali, I imagine you're sticking as well with Atleti as your surprise package.
Absolutely. The two pot one teams, Paris Saint-Germain and RB Leipzig, with all due respect to the other teams in there, I think they're the two you'd handpick in terms of the way they are. I mean, Paris Saint-Germain have changed a little bit. They've changed their identity. They're a little more youthful, a little more energetic. A few of their biggest earners have moved on. of course, including Mbappe. I think that will be a tough match, but I do think that Atletico Madrid will find a way past them. And again, RB Leipzig, not quite as strong as some of the other pot one teams. So, yeah, I fancy Atletico to probably get enough wins to get into the top 8, possibly even, which would mean they don't have to go into the to the sort of the playoff round. It's worth mentioning as well that the Champions League goes all the way through till January now because of those extra 2 matches. So we're used to it going to bed 2 weeks before Christmas. We'll have matches going into the new year, into January. So the league phase, as it's called, has an extension right beyond. And in fact, the first week, which is also worth noting, the first week of the Champions League, there's 3 days back to back, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with no other club competition. It stands alone. Says, look, here we are. This is a new era, and there's no other European club games that week. It's just an exclusive Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Champions League. So there's everything to be excited about. What I don't think we know yet is the order in which we're going to be playing the games. I mean, the way they came out was just in pot order, but that won't be the order in which we end up having the fixtures.
Yeah, them games will be revealed on Saturday, so we'll find out the exact order. Look, it's carrying on through the festive season. So 2 more games. People are still going to be thinking about the Champions League there. Who are your dark horses for the Champions League then, Nedum? So
dark horses to win?
I mean, yeah, I'd say to win.
It's a good question, that one. I said like Leverkusen are going to be a surprise package, and I think having seen the draw just then, it's not too bad a run. I think you've got Alonso going back to Anfield to take his side there to play against Liverpool. But it's tough. It's really tough. I think looking at Real Madrid, we obviously see them as favourites. But in terms of dark horses, I was surprised that Inter lost to Atletico last year, to be honest. I thought Inter were a really, really good side. So I think this year maybe there'll be more of a bounce back. And I think, obviously, after losing to City, I think they'll probably go on a good run. I wouldn't be surprised if they did well again. Yeah, we already know they're going to be playing at the San Siro against Arsenal as well. A good test for Arsenal. I mean, it didn't for Arsenal last season in the Champions League. It didn't quite go as well, but I mean, we've sort of seen that with City's development as well. Do you expect them to be better this year?
100%. I feel like they'll be in a better position. I think they're learning from the mistakes, as we've seen. Probably one half against Aston Villa, where they just didn't go for them. Obviously, swung it heavily back into Manchester City's favour. And I do feel like they've got used to it. I think the format, the understanding, the loading week in, week out, being in them positions, the squad a little bit stronger. I think Arsenal's a one to watch. I think they are dangerous. I think everybody can see that. I think Mikel Arteta is a wonderful manager and getting better. So yeah, I'm just looking at theirs as well now. They're all just coming out the start of the pot 2s, aren't they? So fascinating, this draw. Yeah,
I mean, it's a fascinating draw. It's amazing how quick it comes out as we see AC Milan getting drawn out now by Buffon. And you know what? We'll stick with it because it'll come out in about 2 seconds, Nedum. Pot 2 is stacked. If you look at the teams in pot 2, there's some sensational teams. And what about them for some fixtures? They've got Liverpool, Real Madrid, they've got Leverkusen. They have to play Dynamo, they've got Bratislava, they've got some good trips there. Yeah, 100%. I think we're sort of deceived by the idea of pot 2 because you think it's like a poor side or something. But realistically, some of these are in a different world. They are in pot 1. I'm sure there are league winners in pot 2, for example, but with coefficients and all that stuff, you end up falling into there. But I think for me, as the draw was being made, obviously there are some good teams down near the bottom, but those top 4s, there's some cracking teams in there.
Some good teams in pot 2, when you look at it. Leverkusen, Atletico, Atlanta, Juventus, Benfica, Arsenal, Club Brugge, Shakhtar. It's teams who have been in the Champions League and know their way around. So it's so interesting now just to keep seeing these teams just pop up and what challenges are going to be had. And I think that what we were saying about the fixtures, what's going to be interesting, how you come up against these sides in between certain weeks. If you get 2 or 3 of them early on, the better ones out the way, or do you build up to it in the middle? That could go for or against you as well. And
Juventus, who of course are playing against us, at Juventus have got to come to Villa Park, but you look at their fixtures, they're playing Leipzig, Benfica, Club Brugge, PSV, Lille, Stuttgart. You could fancy them to do quite well in this league phase.
Do you know what, you say that, but like There are other teams, for example, like Stuttgart, they finished second last year in the Bundesliga, I believe. Like, that's a really good side. You've got a Villa side away from home who are a very dangerous side, and even though they're new to the Champions League, in a one-off game, which is essentially what all these games are, you know what I mean? As you said before, you only see them once. There's not a chance to try and reset for later. So it's
You've got to get it right.
Exactly.
You've got to get your setup. The analysts will be working extremely hard. The setup of the team in between, again, league games that might not suit your style and way it is, the travel. So there's lots to take into account, but that one-off game is normally you get a look, and the second one, the better team generally can come and take care of it.
100%.
For the one time you're getting one go at it, aren't you?
Steve, I want to ask you as well about the Etihad, the atmosphere at the Etihad in the Champions League nights. They've been pretty special. I mean, how important is it? Because, like the guys said, these are league games now. These are league phase matches. UEFA are trying to fizzle out them dead rubber games. Every game will mean something at the Etihad. So how important is the atmosphere going to be there?
Yeah, we've seen it before. The Etihad on the Champions League night, when that crowd is up for it, you know, we've had the biggest teams in the world come there and be intimidated by it. So I feel like the fans have got to do their job. We've got to make sure that we're ready every game, no matter who the opponent is. We can't slack off in the stands. You know, we've got to get behind the players, make sure we keep up this great run at the Etihad and keep winning the games. But yeah, I'm excited for it, and no doubt about it, the South Stand and the little Kippax corner will be ready for these games.
Yeah, absolutely. And Waits, I want to ask you as well, have you got any plans? Where are you going to be watching these games from where you are? Do you watch the games with a supporters club or with friends?
No, just with my family, my wife and my son, because the time is too late for us. Sometimes all by myself.
What time are these Champions League fixtures? They're normally at 8 p.m. UK time kickoff. So what time would they be?
Just 3 a.m. in the morning.
Wow. That is some support, isn't it, Nedum? That is incredible support.
Absolutely incredible. But as you can see, you know, he's well and truly up for it. So big shout out to you, Waits. You're a good man.
No, you are indeed. Have we got any? What was it like meeting Nedum then in Beijing? Because we've seen the picture. He's a great guy, isn't he?
Question.
He's a lovely man, isn't he?
Terrible for him, by the way.
Yeah, he's so calm. And my son kept telling his friends, his classmates, that he met a real player, Manchester City player, for real. And he's so excited. And he kept telling people that made his year, not his day. He's so excited. I'm too. Yeah, and he also got the signings from Nedum and Paul, and even Sung Ji Hai. So we have a plan to frame his Kate.
Oh, well, love it. Well, that can. Well, I don't know if you've got much room on that wall, but definitely get that up. Nedum, a word on the trophy tour quickly as well. Obviously, you're out there with Paul. What was it like meeting fans from around the world, like people like Waits as well?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, it's such a privilege to be able to go and do that. And for me personally, to go with Paul, you know, and even to be like here with Michael now, these are people who I watched as a kid. So to be able to go and sort of speak about Man City on every corner of the world, basically, and to see the responses that you get, it's genuinely amazing, because not that long ago, you know, we're having pre-season games against like local teams, and now you see how big City are, how big the Premier League is, and how they are the flag bearers for like success now.
Yeah, well, it's an absolute pleasure for me being in the studio with you guys as well. Listen, we're going to move the show on. We've seen the Champions League draw. I think it's only right that we speak about a man that the footballing world lost recently. Our manager from 07-08, Sven-Goran Eriksson. A man that you knew so well, Nedum, a man that you played under. What an incredible guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to think back to the fact that he was coaching Manchester City after, you know, he's been England manager, and the year before he came in, you know, it was one of our worst Premier League seasons. The mood around the place wasn't really as high as, say, we'd like it to be. And he came in and he almost had brought a sense of hope. You know, the types of players that were being brought in, obviously this was under the previous takeover, and it was a joy that he had, and he wanted you to play good football. But he did it in a way whereby he believed in you. He wanted you to do the right things, wanted you to work hard. And this was a superstar. Like, he took us to Sweden for a pre-season tour. Like, it's like Jesus himself was walking around. Like, Sven-Goran Eriksson in Sweden was a god to that nation. And to have him, to have the charisma, and as you've seen from all the sort of messages people have left since he passed away, like, he's beloved by everyone. And when you think about, say, from a Man City perspective, to put it into context, like the last game of his tenure at City was one of the worst ones City have ever had. But more players felt guilt that they'd let him down than stressed that he was the reason for it. Fans loved him. I wished he could have stayed on for longer, but without a doubt, one of the most important people to ever represent Man City and to have a job in the Premier League.
Yeah, a special season, 07-08. Ali, I'll come to you on that season. I mean, he got told when he joined to do one thing, and that was to beat Manchester United twice. And he did that, but there was so much more to it than just them two fixtures. The football we watched as fans that year was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, he was one of those guys, from speaking to players that worked with him, that just allowed them to express themselves. He was very good at man management, at person management. He'd get the best out of people, and he allowed the players who do the stuff at the top end of the pitch to have the freedom to do it. And that was very much how the team played in that season, because they had some awful results and some fantastic results. It was almost one thing or the other, and that's what made it so exciting. Obviously, I didn't know him like Nedum knew him, but I met him on match days and so on, and also met him when he was in charge of Notts County. He was, I think, director of football there for a while, and also when he was manager of Leicester City. And you have memories of people in certain situations. And I remember he came to do. I was doing a bizarre game, Reading against Leicester City. It was a league game. And his team, Leicester, had just lost at Reading. It wasn't a great day. And obviously we had to interview him after the game. And he came in, and you're never quite sure how a manager's going to be when they've had a defeat. And he came into where we were. There was myself, a floor manager, a camera operator, and a sound operator all in there. There was 4 or 5 of us. And he came up to each of us individually and shook our hands and said, "Nice to meet you. How are you doing? Nice to meet you." He was just the epitome of a gentleman. I don't know, what he was like in a dressing room situation, but as a person that you'd meet professionally as a commentator or a reporter, he was just the ultimate gentleman. And I don't think there's a better compliment to pay to someone than to say that they, in that situation, where they could have been anything, snappy, angry, whatever it might have been after a defeat, which management obviously can get to you, he was still the ultimate of courtesy and professionalism. And I guess from an experience like that, on the other occasions I was lucky enough to meet him, I can say that he was a gentleman, a genuine, nice person. That's always the impression I have.
Yeah, we felt that as well, didn't we, Steve, at the Etihad? I remember we would sing his name every week and we'd wait for that wave from him when we were singing his name. He gave us such great memories.
Yeah, we had some great memories that season. Like Nedum said, the season before, we wasn't in a good place, but he came in and he made some signings. Ilano, Vedran Kaluka, Garrido, Bianchi, Giovanni, and I feel like the fans got behind him and thought, you know what, we're going to give it a go. We're going to play some exciting football. We're going to try our best. And you only had to go towards the end of his time at Manchester City when I remember going to Anfield and the fans were singing, "We didn't need no Phil Scolari or Mourinho, leave Sven alone." And at that 8-1 at Middlesbrough, it was tough to take for the supporters that day. But I feel like the supporters were more angered not getting to say goodbye to Sven, because I feel like he gave his all for Manchester City. He was a gentleman. I've met him a couple of times, and he always had time for the supporters. And it's crazy to know that a manager who probably didn't do the best is so well thought of at Manchester City. But them times under Sven were fun times, and we had some great away days and days out watching Sven's team.
Yeah, we did indeed. And Nedum, you had some great moments, of course, in the City show. I've got a clip I want to play for everybody watching. This, by the way, is sensational from Nedum, our fullback, away at West Ham. How about this one for assist, Brownie? Because it's the first game, it's strength,
it's pace,
it's
got a little
skill.
Almost got to finish with a little tackle as well.
And then
Giovanni slammed that home. Slammed that home, mate. 2-0 away from home, first game of the season.
And that kit was sensational as well, by the way.
Yeah, they were good times. I think the players that Big Steve was mentioning then, these are very, very, very good players. Ilano, for me, is one of my favourite players that I've ever played with. You're talking about Giovanni's as well. It was a completely different style to what was there the season before. And Sven could see that talent, and it just felt so different at that time.
Let's get back to the run. I mean, it was the strong,
Well,
it was there, there was
mate,
a little
I've got-
flip,
I've-
but I think that hurt him, he's blowing there.
I'll tell you a story about that. I've got a story for that. Care for a story
why
about
didn't
that?
you just have a bit of composure? You had to tackle at the end.
Yes,
I
mate.
didn't think, you know, I
Just
thought you
the
were
instinct,
silky.
the instinct to just make a tackle just kicked in. But here's a story for you. So sorry to keep you, but so I can say this now. Craig Bellamy was playing for West Ham, and he'd just seen me do that because I came off the bench to do it. Luka had started, and I was cooked. As Michael's just noticed, I had nothing left in me, and there was literally a couple of minutes left, or maybe a bit more. And Bellamy said to me, "This guy, I don't know."
He give you a little bit, did he?
No. He said the opposite. He said, "Listen,"
Okay.
he's like, he didn't want to chase that back. So he says, "Listen, if you don't try and run that forward again, I won't run at you." I was like, yeah. He never ran at me for the next few minutes, which saved my career, mate, because I'd have fallen over like a lasso around my legs.
No, mate, that assist was
Shout out
incredible.
to Craig Bellamy. Yeah, it was.
Craig was normally a little bit more
I know. I've heard it.
ruthless than that.
I've
That's
heard
for
it.
certain. Whenever you went up against him.
Early season
yeah.
Craig, though, you know what I mean? Last minute, and we already won, so it was all
We
good.
had some very fond memories of Craig Bellamy as well in a Manchester City shirt. We, of course, I know Waits is probably waiting for this one. Manchester United. Let's take a look at that. The game at Old Trafford. Great memories that day.
Ah, incredible. Do you know, that's one of the best games Stephen Ireland's ever had, by the way. And that's one of the best moments I'd had. So in this game here, obviously it was the anniversary of the Munich disaster, so it was a very, very emotional day overall for people who, you know, support United and just general people who just love football. So it wasn't meant to be about us. But when Darius scores first half, and Benjani, who'd recently been signed, scores first half as well, I remember being in the dressing room at half-time, and myself and Stevie were quite close to Darius. This is Darius who had never lost the game after scoring, and we knew it in his whole career. So a few of us are sitting around thinking, we're 2-0 up at Old Trafford here. Like, what's going on? So for the game to have a lead there was crazy, but then everyone still knew Fergie time, you know, pushing the emotion, all that nonsense. But when that game finished, it's probably the happiest I'd been on a football field at that point, probably top 3 in my entire career, because that's when I realised, like, City had not won at Old Trafford in over 30 years. That's generational trauma before that point. So for us to be able to win there, to do the double over them, honestly, one of the most, as you can see, there are a few happy United fans back there. It was one of the most incredible moments of my career, mate.
Well, that was the first time I ever saw us win at Old Trafford.
It's just, as I say, over 30 years, mate. I'm not surprised.
Thank you very, very much. I mean, winning a derby is special. But back to Sven, Brownie. I mean, 07-08, that year for the club, will go down in history because of the players he had under him, the Ilanos, the Giovannis, and because of that league double. The derbies are always so important. But what did you like so much about Sven?
Yeah, I think the derbies are obviously to deliver that to the supporters, the turnaround, the football club changing. I just think the way he's conducted himself right throughout his footballing tenure, whether it be the backroom staff, lots at Manchester City used to really, really like him. He'd look after them first and foremost, then the players. A gentleman, as we've mentioned, wherever he can help everybody, he would. And I think that just tells you everything, the success that he got right throughout. And I think even right towards the end, when I'm looking and watching on, the way he even went about the ending of his life. Do you know, it was amazing, the support. Just look at the players that came and the people involved in football that came to support and understand what he'd done in their career. Yeah. I think that tells you everything about the man, and we truly missed, that's for certain.
Yeah, he's a real classy individual, and I think something which I noticed as well from him, around the time when he was at the club, we had a lot of players. But instead of just focusing on 11, he focused on everyone. You know, and he was somebody who would take care in telling the people who weren't playing every week that, you know, he wants to find a way for them to play. Even in I think there was points in training sessions when we had more than 22 players, so people like subs on the side. Like, that's as low as you can get whilst being fully fit. But everyone was always rotated, and he tried to give everyone an opportunity so that everyone felt a part of it. And I think that's something he didn't have to do. But the fact that he did it meant that everyone was rooting for him and would do anything for him as well.
Yeah, a great man, and we're all so grateful for the memories he gave us. So yeah, we send love and condolences to his friends and family. We're going to end the show there, so thank you guys for joining us on the wall. We're going to recap very, very quickly, of course, the UCL League phase draw. So Manchester City have been drawn to play in no particular order because we don't know what the fixtures are yet. We'll find out on Saturday. Inter Milan, PSG, Club Brugge, Juventus, Feyenoord, Sparta Prague and Slovan Bratislava. And I think it's only right that we'll leave you with probably one of my favourite years as a Manchester City fan, the Sven-Goran documentary, which you can all watch now on City Plus.
So Old Trafford just about set for the 149th meeting of Manchester United and Manchester City on this, the most special and poignant of days.
I think the game we played at United, Old Trafford, that was a very special game.
The build-up to the game is all about the supporters and how City fans would behave.
3,000 supporters of Manchester City.
Because of the event, it was the 50th anniversary of the Munich air disaster, and all eyes were on us. What Sven did was brought a real, and it's an overused term, but he brought a real class to that event. And as it proceeded, the fans were immaculate. Fergie was quoted as saying they were impeccable.
I think everybody took their eye off the ball, the fact that actually it wasn't going to be off the pitch where City spoilt the day, it was going to be on the pitch where City spoilt the day.
And amidst this very special atmosphere, there is a very important game.
All the talk, TV, whatever, is about how United are it's going to be a walk in the park. City had just turned up, we weren't in great form, and then we score.
For Salah, the second attempt. Manchester City lead at Old Trafford.
And then we score again. So like, okay, this is unfamiliar.